You are watching NHL. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Gene. You guys are watching LUBED for November the 5th, 2023. This is episode number 11 of season number 3. Oh boy, what do we got here going in Edmonton? What is going on? This is really starting to oh, I don't know. Like, we've been through slumps in every season I've done there's been a slump period. But the difference between this slump and those other slumps, we're slumping against teams that were subpar last year. I mean, there's some teams right now that are doing really well. Like we face tomorrow. But boy, oh boy, there's trouble there's trouble, man. This is not a good thing. You know how the saying goes, you get a good indicator of who the playoff teams are by U.S. Thanksgiving. Well, that's on the 28th of this month. And if the Oilers aren't close to 500 by that time, 3-4 games back of 500, or worse, I think the playoffs are done for them. I don't think they will make the playoffs. And I know that's sounding pretty steep and critical, but the thing is, this team is not playing very good at all. They're losing games they should be winning. Nashville game they lost just the other night. Embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. Going into that game, okay, so here was a stat. Going into that game, the Edmonton Oilers defeated Nashville 10. They had a record of 10-0-2. 2 overtime losses and 10 wins. No outright losses. That's their first outright loss in 13 appearances against Nashville. Like, I'm worried. And I know a lot of you guys are worried too. But I'm worried that this team is not even going to make the playoffs. Never mind contend for a cup. Not make the playoffs. And yes, during these slumps, I get a little fired up. There's no question, but this one feels a little bit different. The fact that it started right from the beginning of the season, the fact that they absolutely got shelled against Vancouver on game 1, and then wanted to come back and prove a point in game 2, which I thought they were going to win in game 2. It was just a one-off hiccup. No, they lost game 2. Now, yes, they've played Dallas. Dallas is a top caliber team. They managed to win one game against Nashville in their barn, but they came back and they won in ours. It's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. I don't know what to say, man. On this episode, I'm going to go through the numbers like I normally do, but I'm also going to do a thing what I call troubleshooting. And it's basically where everyone is kind of pointing fingers, who, like, to Woody, to Campbell, to McDavid, to, like, everything. And I'm just going to break down my perspective on what I think of that, because a lot of it is like a little, in my opinion, unnecessary blame. But there is some of it that is legit. So I will get into that shortly. But yeah, not good, boys. Not good, as the Oilers fall to a record of 2-7-1. And it has the Oilers fans in an uproar. They have not won at Rogers Place thus far. They won a home game at the Commonwealth Stadium, but they have not won at Rogers Place thus far. I am worried. I'm not even joking when I say that. Let's go into the scoring summary of the last 2 games, because I haven't been on for a while. So we're going to go into that. As it started off with them playing the Dallas Stars. I believe that was, what was that, Thursday night? At 8:08 of the first period, Matt Duchene scores his second, and that was from Mason Marchment and Izza Lindell. It was 1-0 Dallas. Evander Kane would tie it at 17. In the second period, Joel Pavelski would get his 4th. Roope Hintz would get his 4th on the power play. Roope Hintz would get another one. Sam Gagner, the 34-year-old, was the only shining light in this game as he got a pair of goals towards the end there to bring them close, but they just couldn't get back. They hung themselves way too early, couldn't get back into the game. They fought a good fight in that third period, but hung themselves in the first two. Then it would go on to the Nashville Predators. This is, like I said, this is a game. Going into this game, the Oilers had a record of 10-0-2 playing the Nashville Predators. You would think that this is definitely the one, when you're struggling, that this is the one they would definitely get. And it started off good with Darnell Nurse on the power play from Matthias Ekholm and Ryan McLeod. But literally, like 30 seconds later, Philip Forsberg absolutely undresses Campbell. I don't know what he was doing, but he basically did a wraparound on him. Campbell didn't have his left foot planted to the post so he could peel off of it and try to quickly get back. And it was just an easy goal for Philip Forsberg. Then it was the Ryan O'Reilly show as he would score, actually, technically, 4 goals. He did get a hat trick. It was in the record books. It's going to be counted as a hat trick, but there was 4 goals, and I'm going to explain that to you shortly. Philip Forsberg from Alexander Carrier. Then he got his second goal on the power play from Philip Forsberg and Tommy Novak. Zach Hyman would get a power play goal to cut the lead a little bit. Then it'd be Tommy Novak. And here was the interesting one that happened in the third period that Ryan O'Reilly got his hat trick on. So there was a massive breakdown in front of the net. And the puck went in off of Ryan O'Reilly's stick somehow, but it quickly bounced out. It hit kind of the middle post in back of the net and quickly bounced out. Didn't register as a goal. The play continued on for another 14 seconds, I believe it was, when Ryan O'Reilly scores again. They review the play. It turned out that the second goal didn't count because, in fact, the first goal did count initially. It was kind of a bizarre set of circumstances, but it's that kind of season that the Oilers are right now facing, and it's scary. Like I said, U.S. Thanksgiving is kind of that threshold. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. But if they're 4 or 5 games out of 500, count them out of the playoffs. They're going to need a lot of help to get back into there. I don't know. It's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. Let's move on here. And just do that. So I'm going to break down the numbers here. And because there was 2 games, it's hard for me to establish what game I was going to do it for. So I'm kind of doing the numbers of what I've seen thus far this season. Okay. Right now, a combined total for McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nugent-Hopkins in goals is 8. The goal total between those 3 players after 10 games is 8. Less than a goal a game with those 3 players combined. Draisaitl is the one that's actually looking really good. McDavid's got only 2 goals. This is so uncharacteristic of him. And he was asked in an interview, because it is so uncharacteristic, are you well? Are you injured? And he says, yeah, I'm 100% fine. This is very, very bizarre of McDavid. On McDavid, like 100%. And I think everyone in Edmonton can totally agree. The Oilers have 0 wins at Rogers Place so far this season, as I mentioned. The goal differential after 10 games is a -14. From an offensive juggernaut that this team was last year, they are now a -14. Now, they struggled with defense last year quite a bit, but they always had their offense there to kind of plow them through. Both Nurse and Bouchard, who are your top paid D-men, are leading the team with the worst plus-minus at -6. And I don't know. I don't know what to say, man. The one comment, and this just burns me up inside, is when I'm watching these post-game interviews and The media is trying to get answers about McDavid, trying to get answers about Draisaitl, trying to get answers about Nuge, all that kind of stuff. And it's Woody's always saying, oh, you mean the group? The group? No, they're asking about those specific players. And the reason why they're asking about those specific players is because those specific players are the ones making the top dollars. Okay? If you want to talk about it as a group, then pay everyone equally on that team. Make that cap split by 21 players. What is it? 80, I don't know what the cap is. 82 million. Divide that by 21 players equally and evenly, and then you can call it, then you have the right to call it a group. If you're paying those guys, and I hate to harp on these guys because these guys are amazing when they're going. But right now, these horses are dead in the water, not doing nothing for the team. And then defensively, Bouchard and Nurse are absolutely letting it down defensively. Like, these guys are all high-end players, not to mention Campbell, the goaltender. He's struggling again. It's not looking good, man. Not looking good. So that brings me to a section that I'm going to add in on this one. And this is probably just a one-off. Called the number, or troubleshooting. Sorry, it's called troubleshooting. And this is basically where I'm hearing all the finger pointing leading to. And I'm going to run down what I think of this. And is it a legit factor? The first one is Woody changing up the strategies. I think this is huge. I think this was massive. I don't understand why he did it. I mean, I was hearing he wanted to kind of match up to Vegas style, and that's what Vegas. But honestly, sometimes, look, the strategy that the Oilers had prior to that was working. It was working. Why reinvent the wheel? I mean, they were still a winning team. Sure, Vegas beat us that year. They beat us. Colorado beat us the previous year. It doesn't mean that it's not going to work. It just didn't work in those previous years. So it doesn't mean a fundamental change of the strategy of how that team is going to go. What happened to McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins? That's, just as I was mentioning, who knows? Where did they go? You know, a combined goal total of 8 goals in 10 games isn't good enough. Draisaitl, I think, is 13th in the league in points, so he's kind of the bright star still a little bit, so I'm not going to beat on him too much, but McDavid, gone invincible, and his body language is so bad. It's like you could just see he just doesn't, it almost like he doesn't want to be there. You know, I don't know. Was Jack Campbell a bust for Holland? I think we all know the answer to that. You know, he had an amazing game, and I gave him the props like you couldn't believe when he made that Superman save. I even did my thumbnail for that episode in a form of a Superman with him on it. But he's not holding up his end of the deal at all. I mean, as much, you can say that these guys are working on their game and trying to get it better and that, but at the end of the day, you can also say it's result-driven business, and it is. And if this continues, are we going to see maybe another coaching change again? That would be what, the 15th coach that Ryan Nugent Hopkins has had since he's been, I don't know. I don't know what the number is, but I don't know. I don't know the answers, man, but they got to dig deep. They got to find it. They got to start playing with a little fire, a little passion. That's the one thing I noticed in Vancouver. They're playing with passion. They're playing with fire. That's one thing I noticed in Philadelphia. They're playing with grit. They don't have all the talent in the world, but they're playing with a commitment to serve each of their teammates and do a good job at it. And right now the Oilers aren't doing that. They're not looking after each other. They're just kind of, the body language is horrible. It's very, very horrible. And last but not least, did the Edmonton Oilers come into this season with a little too much swagger? And that's kind of on us, guys. Us as fans, the media, everything that pumped them up as the team to win the Stanley Cup. This could have been maybe very hurtful because the expectation was super, super high. And then they come out flat out of the gates. And we have this kind of issue right now that if it continues on, this team is not going to be in the postseason. It's just that simple. Hate to say it, but it's just that simple. Yeah, I wish I had some answers for you. Okay, so up next for the Oilers is the Vancouver Canucks. And this is going to be on Monday night at the Rogers Arena in Vancouver. The Oilers have lost twice already. They got absolutely shelled in game one of the season, 8-1, and then lost a close one, 4-3 in Edmonton. And Vancouver's playing good. Trust me, I hear it from Sammy all the time. Vancouver is playing lights out hockey. And you know what? Props to them. They are playing very good. They weren't expected to be where they are. This is and I said this to Sammy yesterday on NHL Aftermath. This is a very weird season. I didn't expect Boston to be doing what they're doing. Why are they doing as good as their whole center line is depleted after Bergeron left, Krejci. They got a big hole down their center line, but they're kicking butt. And Vancouver kicking butt. And then teams like even Seattle's struggling. Calgary, I can't really say too much about Calgary because they have a new coach going in this year. But yeah, they're a team that's really struggling. I didn't expect them to do very well. But there is a lot of surprises in this season so far. And we'll see what happens. But anyway, let's compare some of the head-to-head strengths with the Canucks tomorrow night. So the Oilers are going to come into this game with for goals, they're 22nd in the league, averaging 2.78 goals per game. Meanwhile, the Canucks are first in the league at 4.6 goals per game. The shots on goal, Edmonton is pretty decent at this one here, as they are 7th in the league, averaging 33.3%. They're averaging, 33.3 shots per game. Meanwhile, the Canucks are averaging 28.5 and they're 26. But they got the best goal total. So they're getting results out of their goal. Meanwhile, the Oilers aren't. That's what that stat says. As far as the power play goes, the Canucks are, Edmonton is 13th in the league at 21.2. The Canucks are second in the league at 34.3. That's what the Oilers were last year, if you do remember. Face-off percentage, the Oilers are 10th, so they're not too bad on the dot with 52.5%. The Canucks are 18th with 49.5%. When it comes to shooting percentage, this is where you'll notice that stat. 24th in the league for Edmonton, and you can tell they're definitely peppering shots, they're just not getting results. At an 8.3 percentage. Vancouver, obviously, lower shots on goal, but number one for goals. They are number one in the league, averaging 16.1%. So 16% of their shots on goal go in the net. When it comes to defense, the Oilers are, for goals allowed, they are 30th in the league, averaging 4 goals a game. Meanwhile, Vancouver is averaging 2.2, putting them into 4th. Shots on goal. The Oilers are 12th in the league at 29.8. Meanwhile, the Canucks are tied for 17th at 30.5. I'm just going to take that one banner down here. 1 second, because I can't quite see these other two stats. For penalty minutes, the Oilers are 19th in the league, averaging 10.4. Meanwhile, the Canucks are a little bit better with it at 11.1%, and that is 22nd in the league. Or a little bit worse, actually. They're averaging more penalties, but just slightly. And then the penalty kill, the Oilers are 28th in the league at 71.4, and the Canucks are at 76.3. So the penalty kill kind of not so good on both teams. But yeah, it's not looking too good, guys. Oilers have to do something to turn it around. And if they don't, I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, let's go into the final thoughts section. And I do have a couple of comments from you guys here. And we're going to just, sorry. Okay. So, Renegade Man 83 says, I wonder what they will do with Campbell. He can't be traded because nobody is taking his contract. And the only way to waive it is to send him down to Bakersfield. You could do that, but I don't know what his details of his contract are. Maybe he doesn't have, maybe he has no movements where he can't even be waived down there. I'm not even sure. And another comment from Renegade Man 83. People think the Oilers should fire Woodcroft. I would fire the goalie coach before anything. I agree 100%. Oilers can't keep firing people just because they went sour like it in the decade of darkness. You're 100% correct. What did we learn from firing all those coaches? We learned absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. They, you know, one of my favorite coaches that they fired was McClelland. I loved McClelland, but because of the circumstances, had Chiarelli doing some really stupid stuff. Like, I mean, look, Chiarelli had his moments. There's no question. As he was able to lock Leon Draisaitl in at $8 million, which was good. But this is the one thing till this day, and I can't quite remember the player's name, but the guy that was on Philadelphia that took McDavid in his rookie year into the boards where he ended up busting his collarbone and was out for, I don't know, 3 months, I think it was. Chiarelli brought him in on the Oilers. And McDavid clearly stated his emotional feeling about this. So, I don't know. Like, there's some things that Chiarelli did that just baffle me. But yeah, going to that point, you can't keep firing coaches. You can't. And lulls happen. Lulls happen in the season. It's just this one's happening at the beginning of the season. But the thing that really worries me is it's happening to lower tier teams, that we're losing these games that we should be winning, because later this month they're going through the valley of death. Basically, I believe they got games in Tampa, Carolina, and Florida coming up. Now Tampa, they're not exactly the team they were a few years ago, but they're still a very strong team. If you're not beating the Nashville Predators, you know, we got San Jose on Thursday. That, I'll tell you right now, I think that's a home game too. I would have to check the schedule, but I think that's coming up. If they lose that game, I wouldn't be surprised to see jerseys tossed on the ice. I would not be surprised if that actually happens. So we'll see what happens. I still have faith in the boys. I never lose faith in the Oilers. I'm in with the fight with them the whole way through, but they have got to do something, and they got to do it now. They got to do it now. I don't know what, but they got to do something, and they got to stop. I don't know. I wish I had the answers myself, because I am baffled at seeing what I'm seeing. You know, the number 1, 2 in the world. If you know, you can look at Calgary for their lack of scoring because of Huberdeau and Nazem Kadri, right? But they're not the world elite. They're not the best in the world. We got the best in the world on our team. What the hell is going on? Like, seriously. Seriously. Anyway, guys, I think I'm done my vent for tonight. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for your comments. I greatly appreciate it. Oh man, I'm sure this is going to turn around at some point in time. The question is when, and will it be too late? You know, when and will it be too late? Okay, guys. Well, as always, thanks for tuning in and listening to me cry and whine and complain. Good to have you guys aboard watching. If you like the content I bring, if you're new to the channel and you find it interesting, feel free to hit like, share, and subscribe. Pass it on to your buds. Also, if you want to check out NHL Aftermath, that's a channel, a podcast channel that I do with Sam Jackson. That is all NHL based. However, lately we've been talking a lot of the Oilers on that one as well. But yeah, as always, stay healthy, stay happy, stay hydrated. We will talk soon. Have a great evening, guys.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in debt.